Good morning, dear students. I hope you all are fine and in good health. I welcome you to the History and Political Science lecture. Today we will discuss about the fourth lesson in history, that is History of Indian Arts. Lesson number 4, History of Indian Arts. In this chapter we will discuss what is art, Indian tradition of visual arts, Indian tradition of performing arts, art, applied art and professional opportunities. We are going to study about all these four uh, points and in detail in this chapter. What is art? It is a natural human instinct to want to share his experience, wisdom, and also emotions. When that instinct results in a beautiful creation, it is acknowledged as art. The artist's power of imagination, sensibility, state of emotion, and his skills are the crucial factors at the root of artistic creation. This is a natural human feeling that every human being feels like whatever his experiences are or whatever he has come to know about something new, or whatever his emotions are, whatever his feelings are, that he feels like expressing. And when this expression results into a beautiful creation, it is known as art. The artist's power of imagination, sensibility, state of emotion, and his skills are the crucial factors. So, at the root of artistic creation. So, when this creation is done, at that time, what are the important factors? The power of imagination of the artist, his sensibility, his state of emotion, and his skills are very crucial, are very important for this beautiful or for the artistic creation. Visual arts and performing arts. Now, these arts can basically or widely be classified into two types. That is, artistic creations are of two types: visual art and performing arts. The Sanskrit term for the first type, that is visual arts, is Drik Kala, and for the second time, that is second type, that is performing arts, is Lalit Kala or Angik Kala. So many examples of prehistoric rock art have been discovered at many sites in the world. It proves that the origin of visual arts is as old as the Stone Age man. Okay, so basically there are two types. One is the visual arts, which we can see, like a painter does the painting and we can see that anytime afterwards. And the other type is the performing art, like the dance, music, or any instrument which is being played live in front of us. So that is called as the performing art. The Sanskrit term for the first type, that is for visual arts, is Drik Kala, and for performing art it is Lalit or Angik Kala. Now, many examples are found which are related to the prehistoric period of a rock art that have been discovered at many sites in the world. So, that proves that the origin of visual art is as old as the Stone Age man. Folk arts and classical arts. There are two distinct traditions of art, that is folk art and classical art. Folk art is a tradition that has continued from the prehistoric times. The expression of folk art is a natural part of people's way of living. Hence, the expression is spontaneous. Folk folk art is folk art is created by collection of participation of the members of the social group. Classical art, on the other hand, is expressed within an established frame of consistent rules. It needs a prolonged training to master any form of classical art. The folk art is the traditional way of presenting. So this expression of the folk art is natural, which comes naturally in the dance form, and it's a natural part of people's way of living. So we can see that traditional art is performed differently, very differently in different parts of the country, and whereas the other it also involves or it is presented by the collective participation of members of the social group. So a particular community, usually it is a group performance sort of act. Classical art, on the other hand, is expressed within an established frame of consistent rules. So on the other hand, classical dance or classical art is a expression with a set framework of rules or consistent rules. It needs a prolonged training to master any form of classical art. So, to master any form of classical art, it needs a lot of training and a lot of practice. Style in art. Arts tend to have their own method of working. Artists tend to have their own method of working. It is known as the style of the artist. When a style is adopted by many artists over a prolonged period of time, it may become a tradition. Such traditions get established as an art style. Okay, now whenever we see there are different artists, and each artist has his own method or own way of or own style of uh, performing the art or presenting the art rather. So when this style, if the particular styles becomes very popular, or some particular style is liked by many, and if it is adopted by many of other artists also, it becomes many artists for a prolonged period, for a long period of time, it becomes a tradition, and such traditions are established as an art style. Those styles then become as an art style. Various art styles develop in every culture, which are characteristic of a certain period and region. So now many of the styles are such styles become art style, and uh, are developed as in every culture. Such various styles are developed in every culture, and they have a peculiar characteristic of a certain period or a certain region belonging to a particular period and to a particular region. Such styles are helpful in studying art history. So such styles which have a peculiar style which pertain to a particular period or and a particular region, such styles are very helpful in studying art history. First we'll see this green box, Maratha style of painting. Maratha paintings is an example of art style. The style known as Maratha painting began to develop in the later half of the 17th century CE. This style consists of colored uh, paintings, and they occur as murals and also miniatures used in manuscripts. Murals of Maratha style can be seen in the old Vadas at places like Vai, Menavali, and Satara in Maharashtra. The Maratha style was influenced by the Rajput and European styles of paintings. Painting styles help us in understanding various things about the times in which it was developed, such as the lifestyle, attires, costumes, etc. Now this Maratha style of painting is a peculiar style of painting, and it is an example of art style. Why? Because this particular style was copied by or was this style was adopted by many other artists as well for a long period of time. Quite a long time it was adopted, and therefore it became a art style. This began to develop in the later half of the 17th century. This style consisted of colored paintings and they occur as murals and miniatures in the and miniatures used in manuscripts. These are used in the manuscripts as murals and miniatures. Such murals of Maratha style are seen in the old Vadas and palaces which are situated in Vai, Menavali and Satara in Maharashtra state. The Maratha style was influenced by the Rajput and the European styles of painting. Painting styles help us in understanding the various things about the times in which it was developed. Uh, Also, it tells us about the lifestyles, the attires, the costumes, and so many different things which we can see in these paintings. So from that paintings we can learn about all these things. Okay, Indian traditions of visual arts, that is Drik Kala. The art of painting and sculpting are visual arts. So visual arts can include painting and sculpting. Those are the examples of, uh, or rather those come under the visual arts. The art of painting. Painting are two-dimensional. For example, sketches or paintings of nature, objects and individuals. They are done on various surfaces such as rocks, walls, paper, canvas of different types and earthen pots. The murals of Bodhisattva at Ajanta Cave is one of the finest examples of the art of painting. Now paintings can be paintings are two-dimensional figures and examples are sketches, paintings of the nature, that is nature art, and objects and individuals like sketches or human figures. They can be done on various surfaces, like it can be done on the rocks, it can be done on the walls, it can be done on papers or canvas of different types, or even on the earthen pots. The finest example is that of the mural of Bodhisattva at Ajanta caves. It is one of the finest examples of the art of painting. Folk styles of painting. Rock painting dating to Stone Age have been discovered in many countries. Rock painting during the Stone Age, that is very old times, has been discovered in many of the countries. In India, there are rock painting sites in the states of Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Uttarakhand, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. The rock paintings in the caves at Bhimbetka are famous. Bhimbetka is a World Heritage Site. Now there are a lot of paintings at Bhimbetka caves, and those are very famous, and because of that Bhimbetka has become one of the World Heritage Sites. And other than that, we can see uh, rock painting sites in Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Uttarakhand and Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana district in our country. Rock paintings usually depict human, animal and geometric figures. However, the style of rock paintings seems to be changing according to the cultural changes from Stone Age to the beginning of agriculture. As and when there were developments from the Stone Age to the agricultural age, that we can see that there was a lot of change in the style of rock painting as well. Usually rock paintings depict human figures, animals and geometric figures. The change is visible in the depiction of flora and fauna, or it may be evident in the style of portraying various figures and also in the colors that were used. So where can we see the changes? The changes are seen visibly in the types of or in the when the uh, plants and trees and fruits and flowers were depicted, and when the animals and human beings, birds, they were depicted. Or even it can be seen that there was a different styles in portraying various figures, and also in the colors that were used. The colors that were used, or the material from which the colors were made, that was quite different, or we can see the changes very clearly as the age when we move from Stone Age to the agriculture. Black, red, and white colors were used in the rock paintings, which were made from the natural substances. With the help of rock paintings, we can understand the knowledge of ancient people about their natural surroundings, and also the way they exploited available natural resources. So, when during the Stone Age, the things used for coloring were the colors used were mostly black, red, and white, and they were uh, made from the natural substances. So we can also see, or we can also understand that these men belonging to the stone age were also so were had so much of knowledge and understanding about the natural things available in their surrounding, and they really made a good use of those available natural resources. The tradition of folk style of painting closely resembles the style of rock paintings. Customs such as decorating the house walls and courtyards, that is the Rangavali, by drawing various figures and symbols, or using panels of paintings to narrate stories, helped to develop regional style of folk painting. Now, this tradition of folk style of painting um, is very similar. It resembles quite closely, means it is quite similar to the style of rock painting. Both were used for decorating the house or house walls or the courtyards, that is the Rangavali, by drawing various figures and symbols, or using panels of painting. Panels of painting is a series of painting to narrate stories with the help of regional styles of folk painting. So they used to use the regional style of folk painting to express or to narrate the stories. Do you know the traditions of Varli painting and Pingul or Chitrakathi in Maharashtra are among the finest examples of folk styles of painting. Jivya Somya Mase, the artist in Thane district, has played a great role in making Varli style of painting very popular. He has been honored with a number of national and international awards for his paintings. In the year 2011, he was awarded Padma Shri. So, in Maharashtra, we can say that Varli painting and Pingul or Chitrakathi are amongst the finest, they are the best examples of folk style of painting. And Jiva Somya, Jivya Somya uh, Mahase, this person from Thane district has played a very great role in making Varli art so very popular, and therefore he was also given national and international award for his paintings, and in 2011 he was also awarded the Padma Shri. It is interesting to know the tradition of Chitrakati is mentioned in the Manas, Manasolas, a book written by the Chalukya king Someshwara in the 12th century CE. He confirms the antiquity of this tradition. The transition of narrating stories from Ramayana or Mahabharata with the help of with the help of wooden puppets and paintings is known as Chitrakati or Pinguli tradition. The people who still practice the art of Pinguli or of Pingul live in a village called Pinguli. They belong to Tharkar tribal community. It is located in the Konkan region near Kudal. The Chitrakati pictures are drawn on a paper and painted in colors made from natural substances. It takes 30 to 50 pictures to complete the narration of a single story. These pictures are preserved very carefully and handed down from one generation to another. The artists and the government are trying to preserve the tradition which is on the verge of extinct. Now this Chitrakati or Pinguli tradition, based on the Pinguli tradition, what they do is they narrate the stories in series. Like so many pictures are drawn one after the other, so that only seeing the picture we can come to know about the story. And these are mostly the stories from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And these are so old that in the 12th century CE, this tradition of Chitrakati was mentioned in Manasolas, a book written by Chalukya king Someshwara in the 12th century. So this tradition is in existence uh, before the 12th century CE as well. Therefore, it was possible for Chalukya king Someshwara to mention in his book. Uh, these stories are narrated with the help of a puppet, wooden puppets and paintings, and is known as Chitrakati. And why it is called as Pinguli tradition or art of Pingul? Because the people living in the village called Pinguli, that too the Tharkar tribal community, practice this or practice this art. They are located in the Konkan region near Kudal, and the Chitragati pictures are drawn on paper and painted with colors made from the natural substances. For one single picture or one story narration takes 30 to 50 pictures to be drawn. So, if it is a short story, it may take 30, but if it is a long story, it may need 50 pictures to be drawn for a single story narration. Now, this tradition is on a verge of getting extinct. Means now very few people do practice this Pinguli art or have the knowledge of this Pinguli art. They can draw this Pinguli art or Chitrakati, and therefore it is the government and the artists are trying very hard to preserve this tradition so that it should not get extinct or the tradition should not die. Classical styles of painting. The ancient Indian texts have explained various aspects of art in great details. There are altogether 64 arts mentioned in these texts. The art of painting is mentioned as alek, alekyam or alekhya vidya in these. So we have lots and lots of um, aspects of arts in and they are explained in very details and in our ancient Indian texts. There are as good as 64 arts which are mentioned in these texts, and the art of painting is referred to or mentioned as Alekyam or Alekhya Vidya in these Indian texts. It is said to have six main aspects that is called as Shadange. Now these Shadange are very important as far as the webs are concerned. In the exam or in the papers, you can have this Shadange in the center, and you may be you may be asked to write any four of them, of these Shadange, six main aspects. The Indian the ancient Indian scholars studied these six aspects very minutely. They include Rupa Bheda, that is different shapes and forms, Pramana, that is proportionate depiction of various features of an image. Bhava, that is expressions. Lavanya Yojana, that is aesthetics. Sadrushya, a resemblance to reality. Varnikabhyanga, color combination, color composition. Agama text of various religious sects, Puranas, and Vastu Shastra texts explain the art of painting and sculpting in the context of temple architecture. Now, this art of painting and sculpting is very important, or is given a lot of importance according to the Agama text of various religious sects or religious Puranas and Vastu Shastra texts, and they explain that this art of painting and sculpting in context of many details are given, or many rules are given in these texts about the uh, temples temple architecture. Miniature paintings in manuscripts. The miniature paintings in the early manuscripts show an influence of Persian style. The Deccan miniature style was developed under the patronage of the Deccan Sultanates. During the reign of Akbar, the Mughal emperor, the Mughal miniature style, showing a blend of Indian and Persian style, was developed. Now, as we know, we have been ruled by so many different rulers, and therefore, depending upon the ruler, the styles of Indian paintings also had a influence or a blend in them. For example, when we were ruled by the Mughal emperors, we can see that in the miniature, Mughal styles were blended or mixed with the Indian and Persian styles and were developed. So, depending upon the ruler, whenever there were different rulers ruling us at that in those eras or in those times, we had the influence of those paintings or art styles, painting and sculpting styles in our culture, or in our paintings which we can see in our country today. Also, we can see that there is a blend of those, or there is a can say influence of those rulers or that culture in our paintings as well. Western style of painting. In the British period, Indian artists came under the influence of European style of painting. An art school was established under the leadership of James Wales, a Scottish artist, in the times of Savai Madhavrao Peshwe in Shaniwar Wada in Pune. He had done a patriot He had done a portrait of Savai Madhavrao and Nana Fadnavis. He had done a portrait of Savai Madhavrao and Nana Fadnavis. Gangaram Tambat, a Marathi artist. Okay, sorry. He had done a portrait of Savai Madhavrao and Nana Fadnavis. So, later on, when we were ruled by the Britishers and the Indian artists came under the British influence of European style of painting. So, European style of painting was developed, and art school was established under the leadership of Sir James Wales, and he was a Scottish artist. In the times of when there was the rule of Savai Madhavrao Peshwe in Shaniwarwada in Pune, he had done a portrait of Savai Madhavrao Peshwe and Nana Fadnavis. The portrait is given in the textbook. This year you can see that there is a portrait of Savai Madhavrao and Nana Fadnavis. Gangaram Tambat, a Marathi artist who worked with Wales, deserved a special mention here. there was a Marathi artist called Gangaram Tambat who worked with James Wales, and he deserved a special mention because he had done a very notable or very he was a he had because he had made drawings of the rock cut caves at Verul and Karla. Some of his drawings are preserved in the Yale Center of British Art of Yale University. So his drawings were so beautiful. He had made drawings of rock cut caves at Verul and Karle, and his some of his drawings are also preserved in the Yale uh, Art British Art of Yale University. Exact portrayal of the object of the painting is characteristic of the European style. A number of renowned artists were trained in the J.J. School of Art and Industry, which was established in 1857 CE, offering courses in European style of painting. Pestunji Bomanji, an alumni of this school, made replicas of Ajanta paintings. Okay, now then, drawing exactly the same objects which are placed in front was the characteristic of the European style. So the European style was exact portrait of the object painting. There were many renowned artists which were trained at the J.J. School of Art and Industry, and this was established in 1857 CE, which offered courses in European style of painting. Pestinji Bomanji was an alumni of this school. He was an ex-student, or he was a pass out, or he was a product of this school, and he made replicas of Ajanta painting. Replicas is creating similar images is called as a replica. So it was very similar to the Ajanta paintings. Sculptural art. Sculptural art sculptures are three-dimensional, such as images, statues, pots, and objects with aesthetic. Sculptures are three-dimensional, such as images, statues, pots, and objects with artistic embellishments. Sculptures are three-dimensional objects. They can be images, they can be statues, or they can be pots and objects with artistic embellishment. Artistic embellishment means artistic artistically decorative detailed features, or added to something to make it more attractive. So it means it is a value add, or it is a value added by the artist to make it still more beautiful. For creating sculptures, every either rock or metal or clay is used. Rock sculptures are made by carving. Metal sculptures are made with the help of mold, and clay sculptures are formed either directly with hand or by using molds. The entire temple of Kailasha is Verul is a unique monolithic sculpture that is carved out of a single rock. The lion capital of the Ashoka pillar found at Sarnath is the national emblem of India. Now, folk styles of sculptural art. The sculptural art is also as ancient as the art of painting, dating back to the Stone Age. Carving tools out of stone can said to be the beginning of the sculptural art. The custom of making clay images for rituals has been prevalent in India since the Harappan times. It, it has continued till today in many regions like Bengal, Bihar, Gujarat, Rajasthan, etc. The Ganesha idols masks of Gauri, bull figures made for the festival of Bail Pola, wooden memorials, virgals, memorial stones, the decorated clay stone age bins, etc., are few examples of the folk traditions of sculptural art. Now we can see that the sculptural art was as ancient, or it can be as old as it was the Stone Age, and its beginning of the sculptural art can be said that when there were the tools used for sculpting were made from the stones, were carved from the stones, that can be said as the beginning of the sculptural art. The custom of making clay images for rituals or some uh, traditional festivals can be are prevalent even today, and they are prevalent since the Harappan times, and till today we can see such clay images being made. These clay images are seen in many regions like Bengal, Bihar, Gujarat, Rajasthan, etc. In the best examples in Maharashtra are Ganesh idols, which are very popular in Maharashtra. Also, the masks of Gauri. Then there are bull figurines made of. There is a festival called Bail Pola, and at that time, the images of bull are made out of wood, carved wood, and decorated beans, clay storage bins, etc. are the few examples of the folk tradition of sculptural art. Classical styles of sculptural art. The Harappan seals, stone, and bronze statues tell us about the 5,000-year-old or even older tradition of the Indian tradition of sculptural art. It is said that the tradition of carving out stone sculptures of larger size began in the Mauryan period with the Ashoka pillars. This classical style of sculptural art is very old, and it can be said that it is old as 5,000 years back, or even still more than that, because it is seen in the Harappan seals and the stone and bronze statues during the Harappan time. It is also said that the tradition of carving the stone sculptures of larger size, very huge size, began in the Mauryan period with the Ashoka pillar. The Sachi Stupa was erected in Emperor Ashoka's time. However, the beautiful sculptural embellishment of the stupa are supposed to be later additions. The sculptures at Barbut are testimonies of the continuous development of sculptural art in India. Now, this Sachi Stupa was erected in the Asho Emperor Ashoka's time, but that time this stupa was not as it is seen today. The decoration part or the embellishments of the stupa are believed to be the later additions. They were added on later on. Then the Barbut testimony are the examples of continuous development of the sculptural art in India. Buddhism was spread far and wide in many countries outside India. The tradition of erecting Buddhist stupas began in those countries as well. So, this Buddhist culture or Buddhist tradition was spread to many other countries other than outside India as well. So, these stupas built were being built in those countries also. The stupa at Borobudur, Borobudur in Indonesia is the largest stupa in the world. It was built during the 8th or ninth between the 8th and during the 8th and ninth century CE. It was declared as the World Heritage Site in 1991. Uh, there is a biggest stupa built in Borobudur in Indonesia, and it is the largest, and it was built during the 8th and ninth century CE, and it has been declared as the World Heritage Site in 1991. Indian iconography. The Gandhara school of art came into being in the 2nd century BCE in Afghanistan and neighboring regions. It had Greek and Persian influence. So, this iconography, the Gandhara school of art came into being in the 2nd century in Afghanistan and the neighboring regions, and it had an influence of Persian and Greek influence. In the 1st to 3rd century CE, that is the Kushana period, saw the rise of Maurya school of art, saw the rise of Mathura school of art. The Mathura school laid the foundation of Indian iconology. The Mathura school laid the foundation of Indian iconography. Iconography is a branch of knowledge which includes everything about making of images of God and goddesses. So, basically, iconography is the branch of knowledge which includes everything about making the images of gods and goddesses. The Kushana kings made use of images of various deities on their coins. During the period of Gupta Empire, the iconographic rules were formulated and standards for sculptural art were set. During the Kushana periods, it were more these images of deities were used on their coins, and during the Gupta period, the emperor's Gupta Empire, the iconographic rules were formulated. There were certain rules which were formulated, and standards were set for sculptural art as far as iconography was concerned. The art of making bronze images was developed under the patronage of Chola kings during the 9th to 13th century. Bronze idols of gods and goddesses like Shiva Parvati, Nataraj, Lakshmi, Vishnu, etc. were made in this period. Later on, between the 9th and the 13th century, during the Chola kings' rule, there were images, bronze images were developed, and bronze idols of gods and goddesses like Shiva Parvati, Nataraj, Lakshmi, Vishnu, etc. were made in the during this period. Architecture and sculpture. There are a number of rock-cut caves in India. The tradition of rock-cut caves originated in India in the 3rd century BCE. Technically, the entire composition of a rock-cut cave represents a union of architecture and sculptural art. It its entrances, interiors with its carved columns and images are excellent specimens of cultural art. The painting on the walls and ceilings have survived in some of the caves till today. The rock-cut caves at Ajanta and Verul in Maharashtra were declared as World Heritage in 1983. There are many rock cut caves in India, and this tradition of rock cut caves originated in India in the 3rd century BCE. The entire composition of the rock cut caves is a combination of architecture and sculptural art, because its entrances, interiors, and its carved columns and images are excellent examples of sculptural art. And the paintings which are done on the ceilings and columns are few ceilings and walls are even can be seen even today. And the rock cut caves at Ajanta and Verul are declared in Maharashtra are declared as the World Heritage Site in 1983. The temple architecture in India began to develop around the 4th century CE during the Gupta period. The temples built at the beginning of the Gupta period had only the sanctum sanctorum, that is the Garbhagriha, and a veranda with 4 columns. um, During the 4th century CE, that is during the Gupta period, the temples were started built. Uh, the temples started to be built, and um, during that time there was only the Garbhagriha. That is the we also call that those temples as those part of the temples as Gabhara, and that only that internal small temple part was there, and out after that there was a long veranda, a big veranda with lots with 4 columns. That was the that used to be the original structure, and that was how the beginning of the temple architecture began in India in the 4th century. The temple architecture in India had reached its peak by the 8th century CE. This is easily testified by the magnificent composition of the Kailasha temple of Verul. By the medieval period, various styles of temple architecture had developed in India. Now, from the 4th century CE to the 8th century CE, there were lots and lots of changes and development in the temple architecture. And in the 8th century, this was proved when a huge Kailash temple was built at Verul. And in the meantime also there were lots of styles of temple architecture had been developed in India. The styles of temple architecture are identified by the styles of the tower, that is Shikhara, the Nagara style of North India, and the Dravida style of the South India are the two principal styles. Okay, principal styles of Indian temple architecture. There are two pictures you can see. It is one is at the top, which is the Nagara style, that is the style of northern side of India. You can see that there is a dome like, or it is very tapering towards its end, or the apex or the top. And there is the other style called as the Dravida style of the South India, and you can see it is not tapering towards the above tower, but it is quite extended. These are the two principal different styles of Indian temple architecture. A blend of these two styles is known as the Vesara style. The Bhumija style seen in Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra has a close resemblance to the Nagara style from the structural viewpoint. In the Bhumija style series of miniature towers are arranged which become smaller towards the top. Hence, the tower appears to be continuously rising from the base of the temple to the top. Now, other than these two styles, there is a combination of these two styles which is called as the Vesara style, and there is also one more style which is called as Bhumija style, which is more commonly seen in Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, and it is very similar to that of the Nagara style, that is the north, which is found in the north side, and it has multiple towers, and the towers go on tapering towards the top, means they go their width goes on reducing as we go high. So it has a base, hence it appears to be continuously rising from the base of the temple uh, to the top. It is interesting to know temples in Maharashtra built in 12th and 13th century are known as Hemadpanthi temples. The outer wall of the Hemadpanthi temples are built in a star shape. In the star shaped plan, the outer wall of the temple has a zigzag design. This results into an interesting effect of alternating light and shadow. The important characteristic of Hemadpanthi temple is its masonry. The walls are built without using any mortar by locking the stones by using the technique of tenon and mortise joint. The Ambreshwar temple at Ambernath near Mumbai and Gondeshwar temple at Sinnar near Nashik, Aundha Nagnath temple in the Hingoli district are a few finest examples of the Hemadpanthi style. Their plan is star shaped. The Hemadpanthi temples are found at several places in Maharashtra. Now there is one style of this temple architecture which was developed in the 12th and 13th century in Maharashtra, and these are known as the Hemadpanthi temples or Hemadpanthi style of building the temples. This has a peculiar feature. The few of the features are: it is built in a star shape, then it has the outer walls of this temple has a zigzag design, and the most important, because of this zigzag design, it results into the alternating light and shadow effect. And the most peculiar part is its masonry, that the walls are built without using any mortar, only stones are used and arranged in such a locking manner, or locking using a technique of locking, that the mortar or is not used at all. And the examples of this Hemadpanthi style are Ambareshwar temple in Ambernath near Mumbai, Gondeshwar temple at Sinnar near Nasik, and Aund Nagnath temple in the Hingoli district are the examples of the Hemadpanthi style of architecture or Hemadpanthi temples. Other than that, also in several places we can see this Hemadpanthi temples in Maharashtra. In the medieval period, under the patronage of Muslim sultanates, many styles of architecture such as Persian, Central Asian, Arabic, and pre-Islamic native Indian styles were blended together, creating the Islamic architecture of India. Many beautiful buildings were created. The Qutub Minar at The Qutub Minar at Mehruli near Delhi, Taj Mahal at Agra, Gol Gumbaz at Bijapur in Karnataka are the world famous examples of the Islamic architecture of India. Gradually, when there were different rulers and different styles mixed, we can see that there was a period, medieval period, or when we had some Muslim sultanates, many styles of architecture, such as it was a combination of Persian, Central Asian, Arabic, and Islamic styles with Indian natives. So all these styles were blended together, mixed together, and creating it. All these styles mixed together to create an Islamic architecture in India. And during this time, during this medieval period, many Islamic architecture was used to make very famous monuments like Qutub Minar, Taj Mahal, Gol Gumbaz, were made using this Islamic architecture, and these are the world famous examples of the Islamic architecture of India. The construction of the building of Qutub Minar started during the reign of Qutubuddin Aibak, that is 12th century CE, and was completed in the reign of Al Altamash in 13th century. Qutub Minar is the highest minaret in the world. It is 73 meters, that is 240 feet in height. The Qutub Minar complex of buildings has been declared as the World Heritage. The Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan built Taj Mahal in the memory of his queen Mumtaz Mahal. The Taj Mahal is looked upon as the paramount example of the beauty of Islamic architecture in India. This world famous building has been declared as World Heritage by the UNESCO. The Gol Gumbaz at Bijapur in Karnataka was built in the 17th century CE. This grand building houses the burial of Muhammad Adil Shah of Bijapur inside the dome, after which the building is named. There is a round gallery. Even a slight whisper by a person standing in this gallery can be heard everywhere, and it and if somebody claps from here, its echo can be heard many times. This is the peculiarity of the Gol Gumbaz at Bijapur in Karnataka, which was built in the 17th century, and this huge building has the burial of Muhammad Adil Shah of Bijapur, and inside a inside the dome there is a round gallery, and in this gallery, because of this round gallery, it is named as Gol Gumbaz. Even a slight whisper by a person standing in this gallery can be heard anywhere, and if somebody claps from here, its echo can be heard many times. During the British period, a new architectural style arose in India. It is known as Indo-Gothic architectural style. Buildings like churches, government offices, residences of top officials, railway stations were built in this style. During the British period, the building of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Railway Terminus, Mumbai, is the finest example of the Indo-Gothic architecture, and it is a World Heritage Site. So here in the picture it is given Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Railway Terminus. This is an example of Indo-Gothic architecture, and this was built during the British period, and this style of architecture was more commonly used for buildings like churches, government offices, or top residences of top officials, and railway stations.